The wisest leaders I know do not describe themselves as busy, right? They are focused, they are disciplined, and they say no and not yet more than they ever say yes.
We spend our days being busy instead of being productive.
Right.
You're doing busy work where someone needs you for something. Women in particular equate that to, oh, I'm needed, I'm appreciated, I'm loved.
You know, if we're not learning to lead ourselves first and prioritize ourselves, it doesn't usually carry over when you're trying to lead a team.
Hi, and welcome to the Living Richly podcast. We're so glad that you found the time to be on this show. To see what I did there, guys? We are going to be talking today about being busy and the busy trap. And many of you probably have even used that as the description when somebody asks you, how are you? I'm busy. And it's a trap. It's bullshit. And we're going to challenge it today. We're going to really push in on the idea that if you are too busy for your family, too busy for the things that matter to you, too busy to really live life to the fullest, then you've got messed up priorities. And we're going to look at that and explore the challenges. And then also, of course, we're going to explore some solutions to how to unbusy ourselves. Every single one of us has the same 86,400 seconds in a day.
Wow.
Whoa, did you just do that math in your head?
Calculated it out.
That's Rob math. I'm impressed.
Well, if it's Rob math, it may not be correct. But let's face it.
Says the guy who handles our finances in the business. Yeah.
Let's face it, though. It is a common thing.
Huge.
We've all done it.
Yep.
We've all said it, right? And we hear it all the time.
Yeah.
I'm too busy. And yet what we're really often tying that into is busyness and how it equates to being important. Why is that something that has kind of become synonymous, importance and busyness?
Well, I think we've been fed that lie since like we were little kids, right? And we are a performance-oriented culture. So if I'm not grinding, if I'm not busy, I'm lazy, right? If my calendar's not full, somehow I'm not important. And somewhere along the way, I think we stopped counting impact and we started counting hours as though those two things are the same. And when you talk about the badge of honor that busy has become, like honestly, when we ask most people how they're doing, it's the most common response. It's like, not I'm good or it's I'm busy. And it's almost like we've convinced ourselves that our worth is tied to the demand upon our time. And we get really confused about this whole notion of like, busy means I'm important.
Right.
Busy doesn't mean you're important. All it means is you're accessible. And that's two very different things, right?
Yeah. I love that you use the word impact when you in your definition there, because we tie in and think that busyness is impactful when really busyness is often a sign of reaction.
Yep.
It's reactive behavior. If somebody says to me, "Oh, my calendar's full," my question is oftentimes, "Well, why?"
Yeah.
Right? Not, oh, that's amazing. That's great. It's like a full calendar does not signify or symbolize importance. It just simplifies that you're not you're not prioritizing your time. You're not prioritizing the things that matter.
Yeah. And we confuse availability with our value. And that is like, and I did it for years. I'm like, oh, I'm so busy. Therefore, I'm worthy, right? So there's that connection that we do, and you stated it really well. It's just when you're busy, somehow that equates I'm doing important stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think being in demand can almost feed into the ego, because for a lot of people, when they feel like they are in demand, it's almost like a validation point as
100%.
to like I'm important, even when it's exhausting, which can then just spiral completely out of control.
Yeah, I think we need to shift the language from, how I don't like the term time management. We'll get into that on today's show, but I think we need to start looking at it as worth management. Until we can start dealing with ego and insecurity and validation from, again, being busy and being in demand, we're going to struggle on this.
Yeah. Well, so let's shift into what are some some of those myths? What are some of the things that people believe? And maybe Kate, I'll start with you, and we'll just, because there's a bunch of them, maybe let's just kind of fire rapid around the table and see how many we can come up with. But we have all of these ideas or concepts that you can push. It doesn't take much to kind of blow them up. And one of them, I think right at the top of that list is the idea of time management. Time management is a myth. You cannot manage your time. You can only manage your priorities and what you do with that time. But what are some others? Maybe Kate, I'll start with you.
I think also that we think it's going to get better. Like it'll be better next week. It'll be better tomorrow. And if we don't actually take the time to slow down, if you're busy and you think you're not going to be busy next week, you're going to be busy next week unless you change something, unless you approach it differently. So I think we often go in, it'll be better next week. It'll be better next week. And how many times have we all said that? And we're still answering, I'm busy.
Right. We're still stuck. I think another one is, I need a better system. Nope.
Yeah.
It's not a better system that you need. You need better boundaries, right? Like a color-coded calendar and time hacks, those can be useful, but that's really not what's at the heart of the issue. What we need is courage, the courage to say no, the courage to let go, the courage to delegate, the courage to choose what really matters to us and give that the time. You're not going to hack your way there. You need to find your courage to stand up for what really matters to you.
Yeah. What's a myth?
If I don't say yes to everything, then I'm not a team player. Or if I slow down, then I risk falling behind. When in reality, it's the opposite. You need to be able to slow down to be more productive.
Yeah, I think another myth is people that just say, I'm just bad with time. Oh, that's just the way I am. No, that's just a cop-out. It's not that you're bad with time. It's that you're bad with creating priorities. Just setting what really matters is actually the truth behind that.
Yeah, the other one I hear a lot from leaders is if I don't delegate it, it won't be done right.
Yeah,
right?
I've never used that.
Never used that, yeah. The translation could be, no, maybe I'm addicted to control and I'm afraid to lead. I'm afraid to let go again, right? Like we need to understand that. I think finding courage for me when we're preparing for this show, I'm like, this whole notion of priority management, this whole show is based on the predication. It's about helping people figure out who they are and what they stand for. But if we can't figure out how to make more time for what we stand for, then I think we miss out on living our richest life.
It's funny. I had a client just a couple of weeks ago. We were having this very conversation, and he made that statement about delegation, right? And so I listened to him say it, and then I said, "So tell me, how long has it been that you've struggled with trusting people?" And he paused for a second, like, and you could tell his brain was like, "What the fuck has that got to do with what I just said?" And then he went, Oh, yeah.
Penny drops.
I see where you're going.
Yeah.
So we see this a lot in leadership. We see this, we are all leaders in our organizations. We see this oftentimes with leaders. Is this a leader problem or is this a human problem?
Well, I think it's both. I think it's a human problem for sure. I don't know of any human that doesn't struggle with managing priorities and losing focus and getting caught up in busyness. And again, I think we mistake activity for productivity. Like, look at me, I'm kicking up a dust storm, and I'm like, okay, but are you just caught up in methodless enthusiasm? I think for leaders, this is a problem on steroids, right? I also think leaders have more to hide behind. Because of our work and our service and everything else. And we hide behind this masquerade of busyness. And as I mentioned earlier, I think this is really, in a big way, it's not time management, it's worth management. And until we really get to the heart of that, we keep chasing busyness and calling it purpose, right? So I think it's definitely both, but for leaders, it's just next level because of what's on their shoulders, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it starts with leading yourself. Speaking from a female perspective, we are the queens of invisible work, right? So like the household, the family, all the things, all the errands and stuff like that. When, if we're not learning to lead ourselves first and prioritize ourselves, it doesn't usually carry over when you're trying to lead a team.
Yeah, 100%.
Or lead other people.
Yeah, totally. And I actually think for me now, I don't wear busy as a badge of honor. I wear it as like I'm fucking up. I actually see it the other way now. Now I'm like I'm too busy and that doesn't feel good in my body and I'm not taking care of myself. And now for me it's flipped a little bit. In my 20s and 30s, being busy literally meant I'm valuable in my head. But I will say it's shifting for me in the last few years.
It's interesting because I heard this from all three of you different ways there, is that the I'm too busy excuse or language is a smokescreen almost. Like it's covering something up. What is it? Let's dive a little deeper into that. What are we covering up when we talk about the notion of being too busy?
Well, I think when people say too busy, let's be fair. It's the translation there is usually it's not a priority, right? Like if I'm too busy for something, it means that this is not a priority for me right now. And I think it's also, you talk about a smokescreen we hide behind. I think it can be a smokescreen to hide from hard conversations, difficult choices, right? I'm busy has become so common that in many ways it's a bit of a cop out from doing the courageous thing that perhaps needs to be done in that moment, whether that's having a really uncomfortable, difficult conversation with someone or just choosing what really matters over just meanerless activity, right?
It's become like it's a bit of a front. I just had a conversation with one of my closest girlfriends, and we had to go to something, and she didn't want to go, and I didn't want to go, and I was actually sick, so I didn't go. And she's like, "Well, you said you were sick, so I couldn't say I was sick, and I couldn't go." And I'm like, "I'm actually sick," but that was going to be her. And I literally talked to her. I'm like, "Can we just stop the like pretending we're sick or we're busy or we can't go when really we can go, but we need like to take care of ourselves." So I'm like, if you said to me, "I'm having a bad day," I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to be the person who's like, well, like we're friends. Like we should be.
How does that go?
Goes, but I do think sometimes even in the closest of relationships, we use it as
Yeah. I've used it to hide from not having conversations or to, I guess hide from things I don't really want to do, but I know that they need done. And I've also used it to hide from just getting quiet with myself, because when I get quiet with myself, then it's time for my mind to go all fucking swirly, right? But sometimes that's the time I need to be able to figure things out.
Yeah. It's like busyness is not a calendar issue. I'll use language that you've used. Just it's a courage issue, right? It's that the courage to truly face what's going on. It's fascinating that you would say that about just even the silence. Like we want to be busy all the time just to keep noise going so that we don't actually have to listen to what's really going on.
So I remember years ago I was not in a good place, and for sure I was keeping myself in high performance mode, because I was concerned that if I slowed down and stopped, I'd have to get present to what was going on underneath the hood, and honestly thought I might just come apart. So what was holding me together was not a strong sense of self. It was pure velocity. Velocity was holding me together. That if I'm moving fast enough, the friction is keeping things somewhat together. And I think a lot of us are afraid to get still and afraid to get present to those questions that we're asking and those struggles that we're having. And like to your point, like we lie all the time. We lie to ourselves. We lie to friends. We lie to like partners. Like we will make up stories about why we don't want to do something or can't do something. And I think busy is one of the most common excuses that's used. And because we haven't found the courage to put up that boundary, to say no, to say not now, that no, I'm not available for this. Because again, we're deriving so much of our worth from that if we don't say yes, somehow we feel like we're less. Right? I didn't mean that to rhyme, but if we don't say yes, we feel like less. There's a good saying to hang on to, right? I just came up with.
I want t-shirts. I want mugs.
Right? I want swag.
I want bumper stickers.
I'm registering their website right now.
The next recording, we're going to have stickers on the back of the iPad so that
if I don't say yes, I feel like less. I think it's a very good statement.
That's a great
All right,
statement.
show's done.
Okay.
No.
That's a wrap. My job, boom.
There's so much truth to that, though.
Yes.
Right? Like that is like if you do pause and think about that is so much of our self-worth today is tied into being, if we don't keep saying yes, we might stop getting asked.
Right.
And then
what's that about? What's behind that?
Right. What's the fear there of all of a sudden I'm not needed, wanted, I'm not important if I don't keep saying yes. So we keep doing this and we fill up our calendars. And there used to be an old saying, it doesn't really fit today because of just where our technology and world is, but show me your checkbook and I'll show you what matters to you. Right.
And checkbook and calendar.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of people don't know what checkbook, but now it's show me your calendar. Show me your calendar. And I'll show you.
What are you, like 78?
Well, yes, back in my day. Kids used to write each other checks.
Actually, no kid ever wrote a check.
Yeah. Like, I was so proud. Like when I was like 9 years old, I got, see, you get your kid's checkbook.
Oh my God. It was
but this whole issue, like I have this conversation.
Wow. Is it scary when Eric's the one that's pulling us back?
I'm trying to get us out of here and moving this forward. No. But I have this conversation with leaders all the time, right? They, I posted last week, or I'm about to post this week, I think, coming up. Anyway, I'm about to scratch that. The point is, if I can say this to any business owner that's listening, stop promoting your top performers. That doesn't make them good managers. That is not a thing. But I think what happens is strong performers get promoted in the business world, get promoted into management. And their entire value, how they bring value to the business was based on their former role. Now you put them into a new role where they have to redefine how they bring value to the business. And perhaps they still have some work to do. Yeah. And they have some management work now added on top of it. Guess what they're going to focus on? Not the management stuff. They're often going to focus on their previous role because that's the only way they know to add value. And even in their management role, they end up kind of becoming the bottleneck because, again, if I'm the center of attention, and people need me for everything and are coming to me for questions and whatever else, instead of empowering my people, I feel very frustrated that I'm the bottleneck, but somehow I'm getting some validation out of it. Again, it's about boundaries. It's about courage. And it's about, again, redefining how we bring value to any given situation.
Yeah, it really does come down to being a worth conversation, right? So we used to use our calendars to show us our priorities. Imagine today, tomorrow, a camera is following you around from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed. What do you discover from it? What does it tell you?
A camera's on me all the time?
The camera...
what are you asking?
Like the whole time?
The whole time? Like 24/7?
No, I said from the time you got up to the time you went to bed.
If it recorded every minute of my day.
If you are it is documenting all the things that you do.
Well, I couldn't reveal it on this show.
No,
it's not that
kind of. It's not going to be on anyway.
Okay. Take it away, Wendy, because we're struggling on the side of the table.
I'm struggling. Like, what are you following? What are you recording?
So I don't want you to record.
So for me, I think it would be that I waste more time, and it's not because I'm sitting around doing nothing, but that I waste more time than I realize on things that don't matter when I could be using that time for rest.
Right.
True rest.
Yeah. I don't know if this was in a book or if it was in a post that you had or
if it was Harvard
or if it was Harvard Business Journal.
Me.
Well, I did say you. That's why I started with you on that.
I didn't hear that.
I didn't hear that either.
Wow. Thanks. There is this. No, I just lost my. You guys messed. No. There it is.
It was right there with the checks.
Well, it was right there with the checks.
Whoop! There it is.
Is that your own person? The idea, though, that we spend our days being busy instead of being productive. Right? We spend our days being busy. I'm doing all this stuff. And I think even for me, often if I had that camera following me or if my day was just being recorded, however we see that, I think I would look back and it would be a little bit of oh shit, how much time I wasted being busy, not on stuff that was important. Or that mattered.
Yeah. I think honestly for me, it would be if there was I think it would be like a highlight, like more like a blooper reel of I do. Because I think I
cartoon character.
Like smoke. Like actually. And the singing scream all over the house. Like that's what I'm picturing. But I do because I know how much I multitask.
Yeah.
And I know when I'm on a Zoom call, I'm writing my grocery list. Sometimes I'm actually ordering my groceries online. Like I am doing so many things at once. And to your point, Rob, I think that's like being busy without necessarily being productive.
Yeah.
And I also do think though, I love when you talked about rest, Wendy, because it's like, I think sometimes we think like the downtime, the reading the book and whatever that looks like for you is people are like, well, that's a waste of time. And I'm like, no, that's the time you need to recoup.
Yeah. I've heard people call like I don't have that luxury.
I've heard that exact language.
Of slowing down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's
no,
a story.
you choose.
That's right.
Not to make that time.
100%.
Exactly. I mean, one of the things in our coaching business is we help leaders reclaim 10 hours a week. And I remember when we first started offering and making that promise, being it's not possible. And one of the first things we encourage them to do to reclaim their time and get some control over it again is to do a time audit. Literally, we give them a spreadsheet to audit your time for 2 weeks in 30-minute increments, and daily just write down, what did I do? And then you pick whether that was strategic or it was just busy work. And I think, so it comes back to that's like the camera following you around. I think when people do that, it's a bit of a gut punch, right? Like, cause you say, well, family's a priority. Yeah, but they got your leftovers all week. Yeah. Right? You say your health is a priority, and actually your calendar says Netflix and takeout. Like what we end up doing is often out of alignment to what we want. And it's all about, again, if you want to get control over this, if you want to make a change about how you manage your time, manage your priorities within time, start paying attention. Take an audit, like do the work, and that reality check. For most leaders who do this, immediately find ways to, why am I doing this, or why am I spending time on that, and are able to recalibrate.
And yet, I've seen some leaders, and I had this conversation not that long ago with a leader who saw it, recognized it, and said, "Yeah, but I'm going to still do it."
Right.
And it was almost out of an addiction to the need behind doing those things. Is that even a thing? Do you think that people can become addicted to their busyness because of what it brings them?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, like 1,000%.
Yeah, it's
10,000%.
Will someone give me 20,000%? Or is this did this become an auction all of a sudden?
It's infinity percent.
That happened on a webinar not long ago, right, with our clients. I think it's when we talk about that addiction, it's ego dressed up as service, and we do get addicted to it. And like any addiction, it's destructive and it's unsustainable. But we convince ourselves that this is what success looks like. And actually, the most successful people that I know are not in a hurry. They're not constantly busy. They're saying no far more often than they say yes, because they know that every yes is probably sacrificing the best thing for good and better. Saying no to something that you know is not good for you or you're not interested in, that's easy. That doesn't take courage. That doesn't take boundaries. That's just like really smart. It's like, Eric, I want you to eat this liver steak. And I'm like, yeah, no. Like, that's really
Hells to the no.
Like, that's really easy, right? But if it's choosing all of a sudden between good, better, and best, that gets trickier. And I think we sacrifice a lot of our best energy on things that belong in the good and better category.
Yeah.
Smart leaders, wise leaders know the difference.
Interesting. I think for women in particular, there's this notion of being needed equals being loved. And it creeps into the workplace. I'm not saying you're searching for love in the workplace, but it's the same thing. So if you're doing busy work where someone needs you for something, women in particular equate that to, oh, I'm needed, I'm appreciated, I'm loved.
Right.
And so I know for myself in particular, when someone, I need Kate for this, I'm like, oh, it triggers something like a different, I don't know what it is.
It's like a little hit of worthiness, a little hit of dopamine.
A little dopamine.
Right? You get a little
I'm worthy, I matter, like in all those internal ego states.
I saw it so much, especially when I was in as a pastor, because you would see this where if there was crisis or whatever was going on, it would be, you could, like in some cases it'd be, oh good, the pastor's here now. And it was like, here I am, Lone Ranger coming in to save the day. Lone Ranger, another old man.
Yeah, you're just like, you've dated yourself at the English.
Wow. Like,
this
kids Google, YouTube. What do you call it? Is YouTube a search?
No.
Google YouTube for finding a new host for the Living Ritual podcast.
I felt needed
until now.
Yeah, until now. But you came in, and you're right. There's something about that saving day.
Yeah. I think the addiction isn't necessarily to the work, but it's about the feeling of being the person that holds it all together.
Yeah.
I remember when I was laid off from my HR career, and I was always the one on the other side of the table. And what an experience to be the one being let go because of a restructuring. And my first thought was, they can't run this place without me. Like, I am the person that runs the biggest part of our organization, and they're just fine.
Right. Yeah.
So
they survived it. I mean, it's Kelly Flanagan, who was on the show not long ago. Again, his third visit with us. He's definitely going to be coming back. But in his book, Lovable, talks about how we often chase our sense of worth and value in our relationships and in our purpose in what we do. And when we do that, we put then unrealistic expectations on our relationships and on our work to satisfy our need to feel worthy. And so we're making, these are unrealistic demands. He says, you got to start by loving yourself first and just accepting your worthiness. And when you do that, then you show up more fully in each of your relationships, and you show up more fully in your work and in your purpose, right?
Yeah, we're almost halfway through our time. We're going to start to talk about solutions and strategies on how to unbusy yourself. But let's get personal on.
Let's get personal.
Let's get really personal.
Is this the camera thing again?
No, this is no more cameras.
Is the camera following me around?
No more
again?
cameras.
That felt very personal and intrusive. Just saying.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. Hear your feelings.
See, that took courage. I found my voice there,
and I don't give a fuck. All right. Let's talk though. What is an area or something that you neglected by being busy? You chose busyness as a way to neglect or to not focus in on a certain area. What would be examples of that we could share?
For me, like the example I give, it's not a work, it's a life one, but it was the grief when my stepdad passed away. And I went into busy mode. We were just talking about this Wendy and I went into busy mode to not have to feel a single ounce of emotion. He passed away overseas. We had to get him home. We had to plan the funeral. You go into action mode to not feel a single thing. And I remember, I think it was a week later, they give you all of 3 days off for bereavement, which is ridiculous. Yeah. And I went back to work way too soon. And I remember I got into work and I remember just being like, I can't even pretend to be here. Yeah. I just couldn't be in the moment. And I knew in that moment I hadn't taken any time to grieve, I was so busy doing, not feeling, and it caught up to me. And I was lucky that I was employed somewhere where I could take time off. But that's a situation of like doing instead of feeling. And it just all of a sudden your cup is like, and like someone just like cuts you off in traffic and you lose your mind in a proportionate way.
Yeah, what a great example, because I think a lot of folks can relate to that again, busy is an escape.
It was escape.
I'm literally, fully. I can't deal right now. And so the way that I deal is I keep myself going and convince myself that all this stuff actually needs to happen, as a way of, again, not having to take that.
Well, and it gave me purpose. In that moment, it gave me I felt like I was helping, I was doing something too.
And I think sometimes that's can be a short-term coping strategy, right? Like we say on the show all the time, you can't be healing and growing all the time. Sometimes it is effective to turn your attention to other things, but as a long-term strategy, it's not good.
Well, because there are times, even that, when everything else feels out of control or out of your control, what is it? I can go to work. I can stay busy. That's in my control in that moment. But you're right. When it becomes unhealthy and it's avoidance of grieving. What about for you?
For me, definitely it was, doing the deeper healing work, right? Like over the years, I would find myself, crashing and burning, more often than I would care to admit, but Actually, I've already.
I was going to say,
so it's all good. We've already
done it all right here.
Yeah, I've already bared my soul. So, but it was because of fucked up priorities and the rest of it. But I would always do just enough work. Again, this spoke to how I felt about myself, that that deep sense of self-loathing. I'd do enough healing just to get back in the game. Like, it was never actually about getting whole or being whole. It was about just patch me up, coach. I'm ready. Put me back in the game. And reality was more often than not, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. So I paid a big price for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine is similar. Like, I think I spent years focused so much on keeping everything together versus me not realizing that I was falling apart. So, my own health, I got really good at forgetting what it was like to be happy for me versus everybody else, which then, you've got resentment that sets in, just overall exhaustion, sickness, all of that. And then just realizing I was on such autopilot versus living intentionally.
If your team's not delivering, if your profit is missing in action, if you're still stuck doing everything in your business, it's time. Rhapsody works with business leaders just like you to drive real results. That means stronger teams, better systems, and more time to focus on what actually moves the needle. It's time to stop reacting and start leading. Go to rhapsodystrategies.com and let's make it happen together.
Right. Yeah.
So let's start to now get practical on this. You have somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I'm buried. I'm overwhelmed, and I'm ready. I got to get out of the busy cycle." Where do you start?
Well, I think you start by just pausing. Hit the fucking pause button, right? And start thinking. Like, we just default into meaningless activity or endless demands as though we have no control. But that's not true. We don't. We have far more control over this than we realize. And when you take an audit, you're not going to, Rome wasn't built in a day. You're going to change this overnight. But could you reclaim 1 hour this week? Could you make time for something that actually matters and put other things on hold for 1 hour? Start small, start with one thing, and you're going to begin to see that and begin to believe that this is actually possible, right? That this hamster wheel that you've put yourself on, because nobody's done it but yourself. You put yourself there, you can take yourself off, right? Mm-hmm. One little step at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about for you guys?
I agree. Like, I think a lot of people think of this as like, oh, everything is just so overwhelming, right? And overwhelmed people do nothing. So it is about starting with something small. And that could be as simple as, like, I don't wear my watch anymore on Sundays, because that's I don't need to be notified about things, right? So whether that's leaving your phone downstairs or not wearing your watch on a certain day or reclaiming, a half an hour in the mornings. But not everybody has tons of time in the morning, but even that half an hour where you're choosing to put your mind go, where you're, choosing to decide where your mind is going to go. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to fix 52 things in a day. It really is about being consistent with one small thing. And then when you have that mastered, then try something else. But I think a lot of people just give up so easily and just saying, well, I can't do it, or like,
that was good.
That's
like, for me, part of it is change your identity, change the language that you're using, right? Because even just when we say, I am busy or I'm so busy, we are telling our brain something, right? We are telling our state, everything about it, and just changing that language. Now, I'm struggling to kind of, what's the language, and maybe I'll open this up, and this is kind of just, off the cuff. What is better language for someone to use than I am so busy, or I'm busy, I'm overwhelmed with things to do? What's a different language they could use, even though that may still be true in that moment? They haven't changed their calendar. They haven't done all that stuff. What's the language we could shift to?
Well, I think you alluded to it earlier when you said, like, you're at a stage now in life where when you find yourself saying that, that is not a badge of honor. You recognize there's been a big reframe. That's a huge reframe to say, okay, how about use the language you're already using? If you're used to saying I'm busy, and we all are, what if you attached a different meaning to that? and say, okay, so busy is not good. This is not a positive thing. Being busy means I probably have my priorities might be misaligned right now. My choices might not be I'm kind of got caught up in the flow. And as we often say, like, don't approach that with this, like, super critical, judgmental tone to say, "Oh, look at you, you're doing it again." No, it's like, "Oh, that's interesting. I've gotten caught up again. I'm gotten caught up in the busyness. All right, what do I want to do to recalibrate?" Like, I loved you talk about how you start your day makes a big difference, right? And even carving out that 15, 20 minutes to 30 minutes to take time for yourself and choose, as opposed to just get up and then all of a sudden your day is dictated by everybody else's demands, everybody else's expectations. I tell leaders, man, you want to get control. If you don't get control of your inbox, like I'm not going to talk checks. I'm going to talk stuff people actually use today. But wow,
right? Fire.
If you don't,
people use email. They do.
Wow, they actually do, Rob. Sorry.
Damn it.
Yeah. But if if you don't get control of your inbox, you don't get control of your calendar, other people are running your life.
Yeah, I would get present to how you feel. What you're talking about, what often I say is observe without judgment.
Yeah, I love that.
So start observing, like, you're like, I'm not feeling great. Like, that reframe is just be like, this is too busy. Like, I feel frantic. I'm not feeling good. Like, for me, it's like I said, it's not the badge of honor. It's like, how did I get here again? Why am I so busy? Why am I feeling so overwhelmed? So if you can observe it, not critique yourself for filling your calendar being busy, but just observe it and then be like, oh, something needs to shift. You don't need to, like, to Wendy's point, you have to figure out 51 things in the first day, but start to 50. I'm sorry, those 52.
Wow.
I already figured out
already
one.
More.
I already.
Yeah, she's figured one thing out.
Sorry, my list was 51.
Yeah. This is great. And I think it really is about pulling away from the judgment of that language and how we see ourselves. And right, you're never going to change your behavior through judgment, through shame.
Yeah, that's right.
And so moving that language starts with just, again, accepting who you are and then making that shift. We all are high impact leaders. We all are passionate about the things that we do. We all have wear multiple hats, involved in multiple different even businesses and stuff like that. We're all doing a lot of different stuff. How do leaders in that environment take that control, to be able to create those boundaries without feeling guilty?
Some simple things like, Wendy, like, you're taking your watch off on a Sunday. Like, in having a small business means you're on all the time, but you absolutely have to carve out time. You can agree to put your phone in another room for even an hour if you want to start small. And I don't care if you're in the kitchen and you want to look up a recipe, you don't go get your phone. Like, just start small with some of these boundaries to protect your space. And I think that divide, when we're so connected now, that work and home are not two separate things. They're so intertwined. Like, I don't get notifications on my phone ever for work. I just won't do it. That's a decision I've made. I think there's lots of micro things that you can do to separate, because I know if I get a notification and it's from a client and it's good or not good, that will affect my mood. I'm not present where I am. I am now distracted. So I'll look at that when it's time to look at it.
Well, and I think that's a great way to be able to teach people how to treat you. Because if you're the type of person that's always responding to something, if somebody texts you and you're always responding in 3 minutes, or you're always like, you're teaching them that it's okay, that they know that you're always going to be on. Or same thing when your team or somebody asks you to do something. If you're always doing it right away, you're not teaching them that they can figure it out on their own. So some of my staff, right, well, they'll be like, what about this? What should I do with this? And my default now is, well, what do you think you should do? Like, there's never anything that's like so wrong that you're going to fuck something up so bad. Like, almost everything can be fixable, but this is teaching them to have a little more autonomy on making decisions where I'm not rushing to fix everything for them.
That's a powerful one. And you taught me this, because of in a situation where someone would send out a note and I would be responding immediately. And I remember you saying to me one time, hey, you could take your time there. You don't need and
I think I started by asking you like what's behind that for you?
What's exactly because
I didn't observe you doing that in any other situation.
Right.
And yet with this one specific individual, whenever they reached out to you, you felt a need.
I felt like I had to, and it was and I remember thinking, there was a healing that happened as a result of you asking that question, and I think it fits in so well. So now I'm able to go in that place where if I do see something, it's when it's in my priority and in that, time frame, I'll focus on that. But you're right. There is no need to now, got to make sure that they're feeling good or happy or whatever the case might be.
You talked about how, like, when we respond immediately to someone's request, we're conditioning them to expect it. If a client reaches out after hours and you respond, you're conditioning them, you're training them that that's okay. And now you have to, you can find yourself in trouble. I'm like, one of the best ways to start taking back control is flexing the muscle of saying no, of actually negotiating time and not just responding to every request that comes your way. Like take a look at your calendar this week. I issue a challenge. Like, take a look at your calendar, cancel one thing, cancel one meeting, get 1 hour back and protect it like your life depends on it. When I'm working with leaders, I talk to them all the time. I said, so whenever someone says to you, I need your time, right? I said, let's talk about the open door policy for a minute. That sounds really noble. It doesn't work. Open door policy means everybody else controls your time. So they can interrupt you anytime. They can come to you for anything and here, how do you get your work done when you're constantly being interrupted? I'll even challenge leaders to say, like, when someone says, hey, I need this by tomorrow, to say, well, okay, I can appreciate that's what you need, but unfortunately I can't do that unless I push these things off. Would you like me to push these things off or focus here? Or I can't do it today by end of day today, but I could do it by end of day tomorrow. How does that sound? In like 90% of cases, you'll get, oh yeah, that's fine. Because most urgent requests that come to us are not urgent. Okay. In the world of busy, we call them urgent. We label them urgent because it's the only way we get shit done. Because if we don't say that, we're afraid that people aren't going to give it time and attention. Knowing that, you can push back even gently on most requests and renegotiate a better timeline for yourself so that you're not feeling overwhelmed. Here, let me give you another great one. Next time someone invites you to a meeting in the workplace, ask them, so do we really need a full hour for this? Or here's an even better question. Can we do this in 45? And in most cases, yeah, we can do it in 45. And you just gained yourself 15 minutes, right? Or do I really need to be there? Is this something you can just update me with afterwards? Like, again, as we start to take a bit more control over our time, the best, let me go back to it. The best leaders I know, the wisest leaders I know, do not describe themselves as busy, right? They are focused, they are disciplined, and they say no and not yet more than they ever say yes. They reserve the yeses for what really matters. It's like, when we say we don't have enough, I don't have any more fucks to give, start saying I only have a few yeses to give. And what am I going to give them to today?
Yeah, I love that.
Right? Yeah. That. We, at Rhapsody, all of our team has access to each other's calendars and can book meetings in each other's calendars for us, right? But it's clearly mandated that if you're going to book time in my calendar, there's going to be a clear description of what it's about. You're not just booking a time slot without any explanation. I'm not saying yes to that unless I have clear understanding, because you're right. Half the time we can go, you know what? We could resolve this with 2 minutes of texting or with a quick phone call. We don't even need a meeting for that. And we can adjust it that way. And so I think those are great suggestions, great ideas.
Well, there are places where you can start to flex the muscle.
Yeah.
If you're uncomfortable saying no, if you're uncomfortable saying not now, if you find yourself sort of saying yes to almost everything that comes across your desk, or it doesn't have to be just work related. This is true usually in our personal lives as well. Start flexing the muscle and you'll get stronger at it, right? The reality is we end up living when we're living in that busy mode, we're actually living in many ways in fight or flight. It's a stress response. That is the lowest brain function. Fight or flight is meant to keep us alive if a saber-toothed tiger attacks us. But when's the last time you encountered a saber-toothed tiger?
Yesterday. I do too. Oh my God.
You're so
Same
full
one.
of shit.
Don't ask if you don't want an answer.
No, but like we respond to every demand. The actual physiological response, especially when we get into that hyper busy mode, is as though our life is under threat. And it's not. Like fight or flight's a terrible place to live in because it's like all the bad drugs are like chemicals are being released into your body, and they're cortisol and adrenaline and all this other stuff that keeps you operating way up here. Is that how you want to live?
Well, and you're
life?
not even fighting the fight that's in front of you. You're fighting the fight that you fought when you were like younger. Like it's not even about what's happening around you.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. And you created you. I think these are great practical suggestions for leaders. I love that you created a guide, a document that speaks specifically to how leaders can free up that time, some creative ideas. We're going to talk about how they can get that. But that's an excellent resource and tool. Let's talk a little bit out of the box. Let's talk a little bit unconventional, and maybe whether somebody who is watching or listening, whether they're a leader or they're just looking for some practical, creative ideas that they can do in their day-to-day life, to free up some time. What are some creative things that people can do to free up time?
Yeah, I would say decluttering. Now, I know right away people will think, oh, but I don't have time for that.
Why? Because I'm too busy.
I'm too busy. But even just taking 15 minutes to organize something that's going to make you feel lighter in your space, because overwhelm is exhausting. And I will say, if thinking of things like decluttering makes you want to staple your eyelids to the floor, then hire somebody, because that hourly rate you're going to pay somebody to help you do something can save up so much time and stress, and you're going to spend the money anyways somewhere else. At HomeSense.
we were bonding over
HomeSense. Yeah. But it's just like there's certain things that are so worth the money to be able to give you the set. Like we have a cleaning person that comes in once a month, and I know some people like luxury of cleaning. Yes, but what we pay her saves us so much time for what? I mean, we could go out for dinner and probably we would spend the same amount, right? Or, painting. Like No, I will never paint in a house ever. I hate it. It gives me a rash just thinking about it. And so I will pay somebody. Maybe, do you paint?
What you should be asking him is, do you paint well?
But those are things that I don't like. Just hire somebody to do it, because that's just going to help.
Yeah.
It's just going to take away the overwhelm.
Yeah, I would totally say cleaning. Yeah, like cleaning is, I think, especially for busy leaders. Listen, man, if you can, like, to your point, if you can afford to go out for dinner, most dinners are going to cost you what a cleaner will cost you, right? Around that same amount. And think of, again, the time that you reclaim. That's like 3 to 4 hours a week that you can get back just by doing that. The other one for me is ordering your groceries and having home delivered, right? Rather than, you have to make your list anyway. You can make it and not pay with a check. You can go on a website and order all this stuff.
That one of those www things?
The interweb. But again, what a time saver compared to driving to the store, elbows up, going through the aisles and standing at the checkout line. And yeah, it might save you an hour a week. But again, that's an hour a week. You could be doing something else.
It's still an hour. Yeah, I would add to that too, like just create routines that remove decision making. Like simple things like program your coffee maker if you have a drip one like I do, but you can still, I'm talking about dating yourself. I still have it, but there's things you can do to set up your morning so it's really easy. Like if you have a really busy schedule, lay out your clothes. If that's where you get stuck in the morning, figure out where it is that you can just alleviate that decision making in the moment when it feels super stressful, and just remove that and make it simple, easy.
Yeah.
All sounds well and good.
Yeah.
This all sounds like wonderful. Oh, this is going to be so great. Free up this time. And I'm sure there's people listening going, I've tried it. It won't work. I can't do it. What would you say to them?
I'd say number one, like, you got to believe you're worth it, right? If you're just going to keep believing that you're not, then you're going to continue. Like, usually this is a self-worth issue. I keep coming back to that, but I think it's a self-worth issue. If you have discovered your sense of worth, you'll still be available to help other people. We're not talking about swinging to the other extreme. We're not talking about living a selfish life. But I think a lot of us could afford to be more selfish and still not be selfish. Like we are so sometimes not focused on what is important to us that we end up giving out of a tank that's near empty, right? So the more we can change our beliefs. We talk about this all the time. You cannot change. You cannot act inconsistently with your beliefs for any length of time. You can modify your behavior short term, but if you do not change the fundamental belief that's driving that initial behavior you're trying to change, you will go back to it in a heartbeat. You have to go at the belief level. So some of this work is believing you're worthy, believing, like getting clear on what really is important to you and what you stand for, and then saying, that is what I want to devote my life to, and I'm going to start cutting out things that are unnecessary, busy things. And I'm going to start saying, when I hear myself saying I'm busy, I'm not going to go, oh, I'm going to go, oh. Like it's a very different, to your point.
Treat it like a warning.
Treat it like a warning sign as opposed to a badge of honor, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think what helps with that is if people can write down, we talk about values a lot, but like, where do you want to be spending your time? Just start there. I don't think a lot of people, we all say like family and friends, but like maybe put some time blocks around. Like I want 20% of my day to be with my kids, and then map out what that looks like in the hours that you're home and figure out, you're like, oh, that might be like 3 hours when I get home. And you're likely not doing that. I think a lot of people don't really know what it looks like. They know it in theory and they're like, I want to work less and spend more time with my family. Well, maybe map that out a little bit. And then it gives you something. Doesn't mean you tackle it all at once, but then you're aware of it when you're maybe not aligned with your values.
Yeah. I think a lot to what both of you said is you're learning how to rewrite your story. Because if we keep telling ourselves, well, I'm too busy, you're always going to be too busy. And part of it is the narrative that you tell yourself. So every yes we say something to is misaligned to a no that maybe that's something that we actually don't want. Yeah. And so it's really being intentional with the narrative that we're using.
Well, so I love that. Let me bounce off that a little bit more and take that deeper. So busy is often what people contribute burnout to. I was too busy and I ended up burning out. Burnout is actually not a result of busy. Burnout is a result of misalignment. It's not because you're working too hard. Yeah. Now, perhaps there's some contribution there, but it's because you're not aligned to your true sense of purpose and you're not aligned to what really matters to you. We talked about this recently, I think, when we had the docs on the show, Quadro and Anmar, and it said, like, I'm a bit like I'm a productive guy. I got lots of energy and I go. And when I remember when I burnt out in the past, it wasn't because somehow I was working harder than I normally do. It's because internally I was misaligned. My life was not kind of going in the right direction. Now if I want to say I'm busy, I would say actually, no, I'm on point and I'm productive and I'm investing my time and energy in things I'm really passionate about. And I'm probably working longer hours now than I have in a long time, but that energizes me. I get life out of that because it's aligned with who I am. So I think when we're busy, a lot of it is misalignment. We're just giving our time and energy to whatever presents itself, as opposed to saying, does that align with who I am, what matters to me? And if not, like no and not yet are perfectly acceptable answers, right?
We often do this. We're going to wrap up here now. And we often...
are we out of time?
No, we're not. But our time has come up. That's... Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow, nice try.
I tried it.
Wah, wah, wah.
That's going to be in there now. No, but as we land this plane, I don't know, we're going to use whatever language. I want you to,
dude, it's getting worse.
I know it is. We often, when we have guests, we invite them to give some final thoughts, to actually look into the camera and speak to our audience. And I'm going to ask you guys to do that, to each of us to take a second and just give that, whether it's a challenge, a piece of advice, or something that you would say. And let's speak directly to the people who are listening in today. What would you say to them? What would be a piece of advice that you would want to give them?
I would just figure out what busy means for you and whether that's a positive or a negative. So we talked about that today on the show, but I do think if you're living in that space where busy feels overwhelming and you're not feeling well in your own body, you need to start figuring out and listening to it and listening really hard to what's not aligned with your values. Eric, you said that really well. I think it's just you have to start paying attention to how busy feels in your body.
Yeah, 100%. And I would say, what's one thing? I've said it earlier on the show. What's one thing you're going to cancel? What's one thing you're going to say no to? What's one thing you're going to take out of your calendar this week? And we're going to put it in the show notes, but we're offering my free time reclamation guide and also my freedom blueprint, how to reclaim 5 hours a week just by delegating one thing. And I know that sounds like a tall order, but we've been using it with leaders, getting tremendous results, and you'll be able to download that. It'll be in the show notes. The links will be right there.
Yeah. I think my perspective, it's a big word.
Big word, Wendy.
Would be learning how to delegate more. So whether you're a busy mom, whether you're a business leader, there's always opportunities to delegate. There's always opportunities to take a step back and realize you don't need to be everywhere all the time. You are choosing to be everywhere all the time. And there's always somebody there to help, whether it's friends, whether it's coworkers. You don't need to be everywhere all the time. So really learning how to delegate.
It is. There is freedom in recognizing you have control, right? And you have control of your calendar and you have control of how your day goes.
Yeah.
We want to thank all of you for taking the time to prioritize this episode. I know it was corny, but we're going to try it anyway. We want to encourage you to continue to like, if you haven't subscribe to the channel, to like and share out the posts and provide your own comments. If you're not part of our Living Richly Facebook group, we want to encourage you to do that. If you're watching this on YouTube, on the screen right now is a link that you can go to download the Freedom Guide. For those of you that are listening by audio, don't worry, we haven't forgotten about you. You're able to go to the website, livingrichley.me, and you will find it in the show notes for this specific episode, the link to the guide. That's a free resource that Eric has written. We use it. Eric and I certainly use it with clients all the time. They find it so powerful, and yes, it has freed up hours of time for clients, and we have so many. So we want to encourage you to take some time to do that. In the meantime, boy, it's like get out there and live your best life.